Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, I appreciate you taking some time to talk with us on this horrible day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kyle.
What are your thoughts tonight after what appears to have been an assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump, who's also a personal friend of yours?
Yes, President Trump is a personal friend of mine, and this is certainly an emotional time. This has been an emotional evening for millions of people throughout our nation. To see this assassination attempt on President Trump is certainly not something any of us were expecting. But more than a friend and a president, the leader of the Republican Party, I know President Trump as a father, as a grandfather. And, I just celebrated my son's 15th birthday yesterday. And that just causes me to want to hold them a little tighter tonight. I certainly have experienced credible death threats throughout the years of my public service. And no matter what, I have always pressed on and held my head high and carried on with a smile. I believe a smile is a part of my uniform as a public servant. And just to see this in action and see this attempt to end President Trump's life really puts a check on us all. I'm so grateful that he is doing well. But also, seeing the moments thereafter with President Trump being escorted off the stage by Secret Service agents and law enforcement all around him, seeing him just pump his fist and tell us to keep fighting. This is the warrior that America needs right now. And this is the man who I stand behind, as well as millions of other Americans. And while I'm grateful that he is doing well and okay, and he is alive, this is the time where we all need to press in and not draw back, not relent, because we have the winning message, we have the winning policies, and I think that many know that. There have been many efforts to stop President Trump, but his policies will be enacted so we can have a stronger America once again.
How can America's political leaders take down the temperature right now to keep this horrific attack from turning into something that's even more widespread and even worse?
Well, Kyle, that's really the crux of all of this. I believe that much of the rhetoric from the left has escalated to this moment. Just last week, we saw Joe Biden trying to excuse his poor performance at the debate and get that behind him and say, now we need to put Trump in a bullseye. This is something that I called out from my official Twitter account, my X account, and said that this should not be rhetoric that a president is using. And here we are now. President Trump was literally put in a bullseye after the president of the United States, the sitting president of the United States, called for him to be put in a bullseye. I believe that the rhetoric needs to end. I hope and pray that it ends. I'm certainly praying for all of those who were there at the rally today, for the family of those who have lost a loved one, those who are injured, and of course, President Trump and his family. But this rhetoric has got to stop. We have seen celebrities from Kathy Griffin holding a replica of a bloody Trump head to Madonna calling for the White House to be blown up. This is something that has got to end. I have never called for political violence. There is no place for political violence in America. This is a time for us to come together and put all of that aside. Literally, lives are being lost because of this rhetoric, and I am calling for an end to that now.
I'd like to clarify what you just said. Do you believe that President Joe Biden bears any responsibility for what happened today, or does the responsibility for the shooting lie with the shooter?
I do believe that Joe Biden is responsible for the shooting today, Kyle Clark, an innocent supporter of President Trump, someone who loved President Trump and was there exercising their right to support him, lost their life today. Everyone who has called him a fascist, everyone who has called him a threat to democracy, who said that he should be put in a bullseye, as Joe Biden said, they need to have some very deep reflection tonight before another tragedy like this takes place.
We know that Americans across party lines fear political violence. That's what they tell pollsters. What is your message to Coloradans tonight? Not about politics, but about their fears of where the country could be headed.
Yes, my response and my call to Coloradans tonight is just to reiterate that this is evil. Evil is not partisan. We can all address a scenario and a circumstance and see that there is no good in this. This is someone who was obviously very tormented and unfortunately listened to the wrong voices. But this evil cannot stand. Those who are sorry that President Trump was not taken out and that the shot was missed. There are reports of field directors who work for current sitting members of Congress who are saying that the shooter should have had better lessons before he shot that shot. Those who are still calling President Trump a devil and saying, you know, we shouldn't be feeling sorry for the devil himself, but here we are. And that's a Republican sitting state House representative who is saying that. All of this has got to come to an end. This is a time where we as Coloradans need to unite. We want a stronger America. Though my colleagues in the Republican Party, we aren't here to destroy the Constitution or to destroy American greatness. We are here to see America succeed. And that is why I'm a part of this movement. We all go to the grocery store and see those prices. We all see the crime and the drugs that are coming in from the southern border. We all are impacted by inflation. And these are the policies that President Trump is trying to implement to get our country back on track. But instead of coming together and finding a solution, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle and Democrats across the nation are saying that Trump is a fascist for simply wanting American greatness and to put America first so we can help our allies across the world. And unfortunately, it has led to this moment where there is an assassination attempt on the former president. And Kyle, you, I'm sure, know this, but a current sitting member of Congress, Benny Thompson, who sat on the January 6th committee, introduced legislation to remove President Trump's Secret Service detail. Now, imagine if they weren't there, how many lives could have been lost? And this is something that I'm reminded of each and every day, how important it is to have that detail. I serve with Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise, our majority leader, who was shot at a congressional baseball practice. That man wanted to kill him and other Republicans because of leftist talking points that he had been listening to, and he thought that they were the enemy worth taking out. Steve Scalise almost lost his life, but he had his Secret Service security detail present there to not only save his life, but every other person's life who was there at that practice on that day. So this is something I'm reminded of on a regular basis. And to even for a moment think that President Trump should not have Secret Service detail by his side is absolutely unfathomable, especially now that this has happened. And I would expect my colleague on the other side, Benny Thompson, to withdraw that legislation that says that President Trump should not have a Secret Service detail.
A question for every prominent person in American politics today is whether they are going to do what is within their own power to recalibrate their own language, given the threat of political violence. I know we're talking just hours after this has happened, but have you given any thought to that, about things that you say and how it might contribute to the heated political environment?
Kyle, nothing I have ever said is invited violence. I am not calling for the death of someone. I'm not telling people who follow me to put another political opponent in a bullseye. I'm not carrying around bloody stumps of heads of my opponents, implying that should be them and that should be their current state. I'm not calling to blow up the White House. I certainly list out the facts. I have been very vocal on Joe Biden's cognitive decline and his mental acuity. And now suddenly all the Democrats are saying in unison that Joe Biden is not mentally fit to be president of the United States. And why is that, Kyle? Because the polls show that he cannot win in this current state. Where was everyone over the years when we saw this cognitive decline? President Trump was shot at today, and he raised his fist, almost fighting Secret Service off of him, yelling, "Keep fighting, keep fighting." Joe Biden has been stumbling up and down stairs for multiple years and shaking hands with ghosts and unable to form a sentence. So the things that I say to folks are not to cause harm on anyone. I am stating the facts of the leader of the free world and his mental inabilities to lead our country, and the policies that have been implemented under Joe Biden's administration have shown clear that it interests our foreign enemies more than it interests us, and that Americans are suffering. There is no place for political violence in America. I completely am opposed to that, and I do not condone anyone who would call for any sort of political violence. But I do believe that there is a place to speak truth and to hold those accountable who are causing harm on Americans. And that is not a violent thing. I think Republicans will show up at the ballot box, and that will be our response to today, July 13th, 2024, when our president, our nominee, was shot at and an attempt on his life was taken. We will respond November 5th at the ballot box, and I am confident that President Trump will regain his office at the White House in 2025.
Congresswoman, one final question, a clarification, and it's also about language, as you just talked about the way that we use language and what that language means. Your speeches often feature Christian end times language about a coming battle, about readying people for battle. Now, I take that to mean spiritual warfare, right? Not actual violence between Americans. But in case this comes up, can you clarify for folks, given today's shooting, given the incredibly heated rhetoric in politics right now, what you mean when you talk about that coming battle?
Anytime that I reference the word of God, anytime I speak of Jesus or having a battle ensue, it is the good fight of faith that I am referring to, and that is absolutely a spiritual battle. We are battling evil and good. And even the word of God says, we do not war against flesh and blood, but against principalities, power, might, and dominion. That is a spiritual battle that God is referencing. And I would never call for violence on anyone. In fact, I want peace even in the Middle East right now. And I wish that President Trump were in office right now so we could experience that peace just as we did the 4 years that he was in office, because he truly had peace throughout the world through strength. And that is what America needs right now more than ever. I am praying for President Trump, for that supporter of his at the rally who lost their life today. I'm praying for everyone who was a part of that experience and really that tragedy. And everyone else throughout the world. I know that this is a very emotional time. I've been getting texts and phone calls all day long. People are very upset about this, and certainly there are a lot of prayers going out for the president. But again, this is not a time, nor is there ever a time to call for political violence. The left has tried everything they can to take President Trump out, whether that's taking him off of a ballot, off of the primary election ballot, like we saw here in Colorado, or through the judicial persecution that he has undergone, including all the indictments and everything else that has come his way. And now he has even faced a bullet aimed to take him out. But President Trump is not going anywhere. He is a warrior. He is standing for America. America is standing with him. And just as he said, we are going to keep fighting.